Hello, everybody. I'm the Worm, back with Raging Loop. We are here as Cowrie makes some food for us, which we all pretty much desperately need at this point. And what's there to say, really? I mean, last time we lost Takumi, and Rokako has been zombified. So, I mean, uh, what's going to happen next? You know, that's pretty much the only thing you can say because I don't know. I don't know. It's just we've passed a point here. I'm not exactly sure how to describe it, but I think there was someone in the comments last time who said something like, you know, we got werewolves, we got zombies. You know, when is the vampire going to show up? And at this point, may as well. Yeah, I'd freely just say, okay, sure. And speaking of that, there are a couple things I guess I want to mention before beginning. First of all, I believe the same person also mentioned last time we talked about the little nursery rhyme / prayer, and a couple things to say about that was the same person mentioned that I was sort of struggling over the word Nare is how it was spelled. Apparently, that is in fact a Japanese word. It's not just a translation. So that's very interesting to know, but it still does not help me understand what the statement is. But it answers one question and then raises a new one. But I am glad to get that distinction made. I also want to think, you know, maybe in this instance, maybe the badger is Haruaki in some way. Now, of course, I'm not sure it matches completely because at least in the structure of the prayer, the badger arrives after the mist descends. But considering, and plus we have three other outsiders, but Haruaki, considering the fact that he seems to have this ability to die and then return to the to where he was. I assume it's some sort of supernatural significance has been placed upon him, whether that was done by, you know, Shinai or the village itself or Rokako somehow, because she's apologized to us a couple times but hasn't elaborated about that. I don't know. But anyway, if I just had to make a guess on who the badger is, I'd say maybe it's Haruaki. But I still don't know the significance of that, even if it were true. The other thing I wanted to point out was, so we got unfortunately, Takumi-san, the person who is the snake, has passed away. One thing that, just trying to think of his death, one thing I think it's important to call out was the fact that when Nasato Kyo, when Kyo arrived on scene, we ran into each other, and Kyo made a very interesting comment, I think. He said, it was something like, oh, so Tai-san must be the one who's dead, right? And of course, no, Haruaki and Haru we just ran into her, and she left. And so my question is, why did he think that? You know, why was he so sure that it was Tai who was dead? Something to keep in mind. That's not anything particularly there's nothing to suggest Kyo was maybe involved in this, but I'm curious to know if he saw something or heard something earlier that morning that may have suggested to him that Takumi was still around in some way. Yeah. And then the Rokako situation. I just don't even know how to address that. I think the only thing we have to go on is what Tai said about she was apparently taking in corruption. I don't know the how or the why or anything of that, but in any case, if that's what she was doing, it was too much for her. And now we're in a kind of sticky situation where we have sealed her in her house, but I don't know how long that'll last, or this is a doomed reality or timeline at this point anyway, so probably even shouldn't worry about that because we're in the process of crashing and burning, it feels. So I think we just gotta ride it out, and get to a new attempt because this is a lot. Let's keep going then. Once we arrived, the place was dominated by a heavy silence. There were sounds coming from the kitchen. A kitchen knife rhythmically hit the cutting board as Kaori-san prepared the food. Tai-san was seated away from everyone, desperately yet fluently chanting a sutra. Combined with the kitchen sounds, it had a mind-numbing effect. Everyone else was simply falling into a torpor, staring silently into space. Even I, the sanest person in the room, wanted to simply let my mind shut down and stop thinking. I would not blame you. That wouldn't stop me from trying, though. Rather than trying to evaluate the details, I decided to return to square one and summarize the current situation. That would be good, I feel. Takumi-san was dead. That left me, Chiemi, the two Oribes, Kinosuke-shi, Tai Yamawaki-shi, Meiko, Rokako Uematsu, and Haru Makishima, a total of 9. Interesting, we're still counting Rokako here. Yeah, I went through this myself. I think I actually missed Rokako when I counted all the people. But yeah, I mean, for me, it's still... Yasunaga and Haru are still suspicious. At least, I could see them doing it. The thing is with Haru is, I don't know if she's a wolf or if she's just being manipulated by the wolves. And last time we did with the whole thing with Takumi and he was shot with a rifle, we got told from Chiemi, who is a native, that basically everyone in the town could utilize the rifle, so we can't eliminate Tai, so she could still be it. And obviously Meiko's good because she was one of the monkeys, so. And Rokako, I mean, I don't know if it's okay. Let's just continue. And Rokako Uematsu, I didn't want to say she'd become a Yomibito or something, but it was clear that she was in a condition that left her functionally useless. It's one way to put it. Normally, the right thing to do here would be to take her to a hospital. But instead, they were going to discuss killing her. I'd probably have to remind them of a sound course of action. Whatever the case, if you ignored Rokako Uematsu and I, only 7 people were participating in the feast. With Takumi-san's death, we would never know what the snake found out about Haru Makishima. So, the snake writes on a... It's supposed to... The snake writes on a piece of paper and puts that under the pillow, right? Are we able to see that? Was that the... Well, I guess not. We were in his room and we lifted him off. Lifted him up. Surely we would have found something. Maybe the wolves took it, if he did. Yeah, because we don't know when he was killed exactly. Either he wasn't able to do it, or he did do it, but the wolves made sure, not to allow it to be found, I guess. Yeah, with Takumi-san's death, we would never know what the snake found out about Haru Makishima. Therefore, the only confirmed people were... Oh, and I forgot that, yeah. Only confirmed people were Kinosuke Shi, a human, and Meiko, a monkey. And personally, I thought I could trust Chiemi, so that made 3. Yeah, this is the whole... We've said it, I think we've talked about it 2 times now, but... So I don't think I need to rehash the Chiemi thing. If it is gonna be Chiemi, then that's some 4D chess she's playing, so that is quite something. But I wanna agree with Haruaki here, so we're gonna try and put our faith in Chiemi here. So 3 safe. That left 4 others. This was bad. I wondered if Chiemi understood that. I had to talk to her in private.
ねえ、お姉ちゃんは?
She's sick, Meiko. She's sick, so she's gonna be resting a while, alright? We'd kept Meiko away from all that happened this morning, so she was still in the dark about Rikako-san.
お姉さんはちょっと具合が悪いんだ。静かにしといてあげて。
ねえ、お外行っていい?
Oh, I don't know. I don't think so.
危険じゃないかね。
Yeah.
私見とくよ。すぐそこなら危なくもないでしょ。
The 2 left.
安永、ちょっと。
何かな？
ちょっと取ってきてほしいものがね。
手洗いを借りる。
Oh, we're all separating, huh? More and more people left. They probably didn't feel comfortable standing up until now. Tai-san just continued chanting, though. It was like she lived in another world. Besides her, all that was left was... Haru-chan. The way she constantly shifted in her seat made it clear she felt uncomfortable.
匠さんのことは残念だったね。
I tried talking to her.
ええ。知恵姉もずっと頼ってたし。
植松里香子さんは？
私、あの人苦手よ。気味悪いもの。
ちえみちゃんは平気そうだったけど。
知恵姉は強いもん。
彼女、植松さんがこっちへ来たのっていつ頃のこと？
2年か3年前。だいぶ前よ。
Interesting. I believe we have heard that out of all the people here, Rikako might be the only one who came here willingly, which is quite some interesting information. That seemed like plenty of time to get to know a person, if you ask me. Or maybe not. Yasumizu's people had been suffering at the hands of the village heads for generations. Of course they couldn't just accept her.
彼女は長者だというが、植松家というのは一体どういう家なんだ？
This might have been said before, but I actually don't recall. So she's not just a member of the Uematsu family, she's a village head. That's quite something. That would make more sense for them to be distrustful. I thought she was just a member of the Uematsu family. Interesting. Okay.
何が聞きたいのよ。よそ者はおとなしくしてろって言われるの何度目ですか？
ごめん。これは無神経だった。じゃあ別の話にしよう。それはいい？
別にいいけど。
I looked around. As I saw Yasunaga-kun walk upstairs, I lowered my voice and asked,
君にとってモッチーはどんな存在だったんだ？
Wow.
なんで聞くの？
Haruaki's really probing here.
お葬式代わりだよ。
え？
お葬式では亡くなった人のことを話すだろう。死者の思い出を話すことは霊魂の供養になるらしいよ。
なんか意外。
何が？
もっと血も涙もない人だと思ってたから、供養とかそんなの言い出すって思わなかった。
That was just rude.
モッチーは野里の子だったけど、選ぶった感じじゃ全然なかった。すっごく変だったし、知恵姉と同じくらいいろんな問題を起こしてたけど、みんなはモッチーのこと頭おかしいって言ってたけど、私はそうは思わない。
Sorry for interrupting that last line.
とっても面白い人。多分 テレビとかに出て大活躍するようなのが向いてたと思うわ。
Hmm.
一つ上だったけど、ほとんど同い年の友達みたいに接してくれたし、楽しかったわよ、すごく。兄ちゃんもすごく仲良かったし。
そんなに？
うん。いつも一緒にいたし、学校でもヒーローみたいな二人組だったよ。時々横にいて寂しくなるくらい仲良かった。
Hmm. Her visage dimmed. I felt like she was easier to understand than most. If Mochi had really liked her, it must have been a tough love. She hadn't even looked at him in that regard, and being with Yasunaga-kun even made him a target of her jealousy.
でも彼はもういない。安永君は辛いだろうな。
うん。
彼を手伝ってあげたら？
Yasunaga-kun was going up the stairs again. I gestured at him with my chin.
え？
なんかお手伝い中っぽいし、ちえみちゃんは外だし。君はモッチーの代わりにはなれないかもしれないし、そこに立つべきはちえみちゃんなのかもしれないが、最後に決めるのは彼らだとして、それまでにしてあげたいことを我慢する必要はないんじゃないか？助けになりたいとは思うんだろ？
うん。あなたも？
まあ、彼女には一宿一飯以上の恩があるからね。下心がないとは言わないが、それ以上に彼女を支えたい。彼女は僕には見えないものに随分苦しんでいるみたいだから。
やっぱりあなたのこと誤解してたかも。
仕方ないよ。行くのかい？
うん。昨日のこと謝らなきゃだし。
じゃあ僕も外へ。
We stood up at the same time. Ohara-chan was always on edge. Deep inside, she was a really honest girl. I was worried that she'd fall victim to some scumbag like me down the road.
あ、
何？
やっぱりあなたは逃げた方が。いや、なんでもない。
She cut herself short and hurried upstairs. Apparently, I'd gained some of her trust, but it didn't look like I could get anything more useful than that bit of advice. Well, that was a nice conversation. The two are able to bond a bit about talking about the people they care about. So, that was nice. Unlike the other inhabitants, she just believed that escape was possible. That was why she tried to do it yesterday. That might have been the extent of it.
それで誰が怪しいと思う？
はるちゃんと安永くん。
Yeah. I walked up to Chiemi, who was looking after Mako, and we started a conversation.
はるちゃんはともかく、イアスくんなの？
容疑者は実質4人。タイさんと香織さん、そしてその2人だ。このうち昨日モッチーらが死んだ時に外出していたのは彼一人。
That was another thing to consider, yes.
さらに狼の狡猾さを考えれば彼以外に考えづらい。
They are very aware of the rules and have been playing the game well, so to speak.
ずる賢いってこと？
うん。
そうなの？
今日なぜ匠さんは死んだ？
Well, he was checking on Haru-chan.
なぜって、狼に殺されたから。
それを聞きたいんじゃない。
一体何が。あ、もしかしてこういうこと？雲に守られなかったから。
正解。おそらくもう、雲は死んでる。
So this was the question. I think we talked about this either last episode or the episode before. You know, wondering if You know, could have been Kanzo, could have been Yoshitsugu, could have even been the old man, you know? Yeah, that's worst case scenario actually. Yep.
え、
ヘビである匠さんは普通に考えれば初日確かに雲に守られたはずだ。
Was that the day Kanzo was killed and Yoshitsugu died? Again, here's a question about how the rules work. Here's the question. Could Kanzo say he was the spider, and you put the person you want to protect on the paper and you put it under your pillow, something like that, right? Could Kanzo have done that, and then at the beginning of the night, and then that counts, that'll go through, and then he was killed after that? Or would it have been, if he was killed at all, it wouldn't have worked? I don't know. I guess it wouldn't have mattered because he was the one that was targeted. I guess I'm just sort of curious about how these powers work. So yeah, I guess it's a question of if it were Kanzo or Yoshitsugu, if the spider dies, does the power not work? That's the question. Because if... I'm trying to actually think this through. I guess it doesn't really... I guess you can't really say it from that. It's either Kanzo, Yoshitsugu, or Old Man. And it would suck if it was Old Man, because we all voted him out.
そして2日目である昨日、雲が別の誰かを守るべきだという話は一度も出なかったんだよね。
うん。
ということは、雲は引き続き重要度の高い匠さんを守ったと考えるべきだ。雲が生きてたら。
I mean, maybe it could have been Rakako too, and she just went crazy and didn't do it.
それはそうか。
宴開始後にやられた匠さん以外の人は、勘蔵さん、吉嗣君、
Yes,
モッチ
okay.
狼じじい氏。
Okay, so maybe he'll actually make this distinction for me.
この4人の中に雲がいて、なおかつそれを狼は見抜き、殺して、その上で匠さんを始末した。そうとしか考えられない。
それは考えすぎじゃない？ 4人も死んだからそろそろ雲もいないだろうってことかも。
I mean, they could have done something like, they could have just asked people, say, hey, are you a guardian or something? I mean, that could be suspicious if you just start asking people that, but they could have.
楽天的に考えればそうだね。しかし相手が本当に賢いやつだったら、その油断が最後の致命傷になる。
Yeah, if there's one thing to take from this whole this timeline we're in, it's that the humans have just been completely failing at every turn, and the wolves have been completely... Humans are always on the back foot and always trying to play catch up, and the wolves are always on the offensive here. They're good.
でもどうやって雲を見抜けるって？
声が大きい。
ん？
なんでもないよ、メイコちゃん。
She resumed scribbling on the ground. She was completely absorbed in it for some reason.
雲については、もしかしたら見抜けた可能性があったかもしれない。
Guessed how?
それってどうやって？
初日、勘蔵さんが安永君に喋らせてから最終決定をさせたって言ってただろ。僕の見立てでは、彼はもっと率先して動くタイプだし、初日は誰も殺さないという判断を下しそうにもない。
まあそう言われたらそうかも。でも
彼が喋って決定が行われれば、場に与える影響はとてつもなく大きい。そしておそらく決断はある程度正しい。 だから狼に狙われやすい、こう僕らは考えたよね。
そうだけど、同じ時にヤス君も狙われやすいって話したじゃん。
逆を返せば、自分が狼なら狼に狙われるリスクはないわけだ。それよりも大事なことを黙っていて不自然がられる方が危ない。だから当たり障りのない情報は出す。もしそうならとても賢い選択だ。そうは思わない？
I mean, it makes sense to me.
でも肝臓じいちゃんがそんなに喋らなかったって話とどうつながるの？
I think he's saying the fact that Kanzo was keeping his silence meant that because he had been given the role of Spider, he was thinking differently than how he would normally, right? Because he was saying if it were normally him, he would have taken charge. But instead, because he had a role to play, he was trying to think about that and thus was less proactive, I think is what he's saying.
これから言うのは完全に憶測だけど、肝臓さんが動かなかったのは権威を発揮して、
Oh, okay.
狼に目をつけられるのを防ぐため。
Similar to what I said, but yes, that also makes sense. Yeah.
なぜその必要があったか。彼が自身の生存が全員の生存にとって必要だと判断したから。
Wow.
なぜなら
まさかカゴ持ちだったから。
Wow. Man, see, this is stuff I wasn't even considering. So, and again, this is not a sure thing, but Hararagi is suggesting it's people who are talking a lot and trying to give a lot of information in the beginning that are more potentially a wolf. And we do know that Yasunaga at one point did take control of the conversation. Wow.
そうだ。それもおそらく雲。
どうしてそこまで言えるの？
雲は正体がバレた時のリスクが最も大きいカゴだ。なぜなら自分を守れないからね。それでいて正体がバレない限り狼に対して一夜分無駄にさせられる可能性がある。だから彼は極力目立たないように振る舞おうとした。しかしそれが逆に狼の注意を引いたんだ。
So the wolves noticed he was acting out of character and deduced that was why. Wow.
あの人が黙ってるなんてよほどの加護を持っているに違いないとね。それで狼は彼をまんまと初日に仕留めることに成功し、丸裸になった匠さんを翌日に片付けた。
It's still so crazy to me to think that the wolves have only taken out 2 people. And yet we've lost, what? Yoshitsugu, Mochi, Old Man, Rakako, those 4, and journalists, the 2 journalists, all without the wolves doing anything for them. Well, maybe. We're thinking maybe Yoshitsugu was convinced to go out, maybe by the wolves, but seriously, the humans are just failing every turn here.
憶測だってのは分かってるけど、なんとなくそうだって気もする。
もしそこまで敵が意図的だったとすると、現状起きている異常事態も狼のショートカット戦術と考えた方がいい。
どういうこと？
Ooh, are you gonna talk about the other deaths?
ルール外で人が死にすぎている。吉次君、モッチ、狼じじいし、そしてほぼ死人扱いの植松里香子。狼にとっては予定外の死人が出ることは歓迎すべき。宴の回数が減ればくくられる危険が減るから。だから意図的に人が死ぬように仕向けているとしたら。
話はわかるけど、どうやって？
吉次君については、例えば夜に出歩くように仕向けて汚れに追いやった。
Yep, this is what we speculated on, yeah.
モッチーと狼じじい氏については動機まではわからないが、植松里香子に彼らを殺させたとすれば辻褄が合う。
Wow. Really? Okay, I want to hear this.
え、
タエさんは植松家の役割に絡めて汚れの原因を語っていたが、もっと筋の通った説がある。
Oh, do you think it's because she broke the rules?
植松里香子が2人を殺したとすれば、1日1人しか殺せない宴のルールに抵触し、汚れの対象となるんだ。
Wow. I put aside the idea that there were apparently two types of corruption, slaughter and madness. Yeah, that's new. That's I don't know how to think about that yet.
でもそんなの無理でしょ。彼女あんな服着てるんだよ。着替える暇なんてないじゃん。それに男2人相手に彼女が挑んで勝てるわけないってば。
じゃあこういうのは、モッチーと狼じじいし、どちらかがどちらかを殺し、残った方を彼女が殺した。
Did Rikago go searching too? I don't remember that.
2人目の血を流したことで彼女は汚れの対象になる。服についてはわからないが、何か割烹着でも羽織ればいけるかもしれない。検証するまで不可能とは言えない。
それはでも一人だって相手は男で。
片方は何歳かもわからない老人だしな。あるいは殺し合って互いに弱ってたかも。
Now this is all very convincing and good to hear, but the fact that the game's telling me all this instinctively makes me a bit wary of this explanation.
殺
But I am following him.
そんな、なんでそんなこと考えられるの？
I'm getting worried about Chiemi too.
だから全部憶測だ。動機だって不明。しかし話の筋は通っている。
じゃあそれがどうして狼の陰謀につながるっていうの？
動機の話になるとわからないけど、弱みを握ったとか殺すように仕向ける方法はあるんじゃないかな。あるいは彼女自身が狼だとかね。
Chiemi was at a loss for words. I had no choice but to continue myself.
狼の他の仲間が優位になるように自ら時計の針を進めたって可能性もある。
Talk about strategies here. Having a wolf basically sacrifice themselves for the sake of the other wolf? Whew. Oh boy.
それはないよ。狼は数が減るほど不利じゃん。
He's just bringing up the idea.
確かに狼対人の人数比で言えば、
Yeah.
一人対二人はうまい交換じゃない。
It's just such a crazy idea. I'd never think about it.
しかし誰もがその打算を働かせられるとは限らない。誰もが合理的に動くわけじゃない。非合理的なことは多分起こってるし、その全てを予測することは不可能だ。
Yeah, there's lots of illogical stuff going on, and predicting their effects is impossible. That's how I feel. That's how I really feel right now.
いや、聞きたくない。
でも諦めるわけにはいかないだろ
もう何も考えたくないよ。
Not a good way to think, Jamie.
う。ごめん、いろいろ言ってさ。
うん、こっちこそごめん。でもちょっときつい。
That's also true. Haruaki's the outsider here, so he could calmly sort of deduce like this. But Chiemi, these are all people, very real people who she knows, so I'm sure this is much more difficult for her.
僕もこれ以上君たちがこんなものに付き合う必要はないと思う。脱出するなら協力するけど。
無理だよ。分かってるんだ。ここに生まれたならここで死ぬしかないんだよ。
そんなのは単なる思い込みだよ。
神様が見えない人には分からないよ。
ああ、わからないな。困ったな。
It really was troubling. If this was some tabletop fun for the whole family game, I'd have already punched the GM and left. But lives were actually on the line here, not just my own, but also that of someone I kinda liked. We'd made it this far, yet she was uncooperative. Maybe I was going about this wrong? Maybe if I wanted to save her life, I had to start by saving her from the darkness within. Or maybe from the unidentified supernatural phenomenon that was binding her. Though, that didn't seem like something that could be done in just 3 or 4 days. Still, I'd struggle until the very end. I couldn't participate in the feast myself, so I had no choice but to leave it to Chiemi. I didn't say anything more to her. I just chose to believe she'd overcome her inner conflict soon. Meanwhile, Mako's drawing had grown so large it felt like she would get lost in the mist.
Oi!
Man, if the game wanted to give me a really good gut punch, it would be to make the wolves Chiemi and Yasunaga. That would be like the worst. And Haru was just manipulated. Oh. I left Chiemi and went to Mako. She waved at me. Good thing she was kind of used to me now.
さっきから何を書いてるんだい？
こっちがね、
お守り？
Sorry, Mako. Skipped your line there. One drawing showed a warped circle with a line just as strange going through it. But I could see what it was. It looked much like the Higuchi family crest I saw in the dining hall. There were 4 of them, apparently. The others were hard to differentiate. On the whirling drawing was the same as the one on the stone, the symbol of the Yamatsu Okami.
なるほど。新内さんのお守りか。お姉ちゃんに教わったのかい？こっちのはお守りじゃないね。
家畜。
Cattle, you say? I certainly wasn't expecting to hear such a vivid word from a girl about 4 years old.
動物かい？
これがね、牛。
ふんふん。
これはロバ。
おお。
こっちはね、豚。
ああ。
The ground wasn't the best canvas, and the little girl wasn't the best artist. All I could really tell was that they all had 4 legs.
これは？
私。
It had 4 legs, though. Well, whatever.
じゃあ、一番でっかいこれは？
狼。
A light chill went down my spine.
なんで狼なの？
狼が来るから。
Huh. The wolf is coming. Yeah, it was like Old Man. That was like...
狼が来るから逃げなきゃいけなくて。
待ってくれ、メコちゃん。君は狼を知ってるのか？
会ったことない。でも怖いって。
それはここの狼？
ね？
蛇とか猿とかは？
知らない。
Snake and monkey.
狼は何をするの？
家畜を食べる。
食べる？
お馬は食べられたって。
Who's they? Huh. Apparently, this had nothing to do with the Fujiyoshi's legend. I had no idea if this was from a picture book or her imagination, but there were barely any links between the stories. Or maybe I was rushing to conclusions.
そのお話は誰に聞いたの？
本当だよ。
じゃあ、どこであったことかな？
遠く。
遠くか。
ずーっと歩いてきたの。
Well, it didn't look like I could get any details from her. If far away referred to the land of myth, and it actually had truths regarding Fujiyoshi's legend that weren't told here. what the hell was I thinking? Land of Myth? How stupid. I should just calm down and file it under more info that made no sense to me. Fair enough, Haruaki. Fair enough.
そっか。頑張ったね。
お腹すいた。
そうだね。僕もだ。
As we turned around, I saw Chammy stand up in the mist again and hesitantly beckon us.
食事ができたそうだ。
Kinosuke was standing at the entrance of the dining hall wearing a gloomy expression. He was never particularly vigorous, but now his visage was haggard, and he wasn't nearly as arrogant as before. I couldn't blame him. The only person he was flirtatious to was Rikako Uematsu. The only person he was flirtatious to, Rikako Uematsu, was in an awful state. Also, despite all he'd said, he'd actually relied on Takumi-san. They seemed to be close in terms of age, too. And from what I'd heard, he'd never really said anything wrong. The only problem was his insensitive choice of words. The feast was a communication game. Even if you were right about something, it didn't matter much if you couldn't convince anyone.
ありがとうございます。
Still, he was one of the mere 2 confirmed humans. Treating him badly and making him upset wouldn't help at all. I had to be courteous.
行こうか。
お腹減ったね、メイコちゃん。
Chimmy had calmed down a bit. I'd already told her my suspicions. I now had to hope she handled the feast well. All that was left now was to get some nutrients to support my hard-working brain. Right?
すみませんね。こんなのしかできなくて。
She ladled what appeared to be rice gruel from a large pot. It was a thick white soup with vegetables, rice, and something brown inside.
シシリだ。慣れてます？
ええ。生のはダメになっちゃったから。
ちえみちゃん、
I whispered to her.
どうしようか。
春明さんはどうしたい？
Is this about the food situation? Yeah, we were talking about the thing where I had to avoid local food.
せっかくだから今回は貫こうか。
Until the end this time, you say?
オッケー。ありがとう。
Yeah, what did I mean by this time? Did I think I had another life or something? You know, this whole time, he has the memory of the first time he died. I could understand him wanting to kind of distance himself from that. Him being a very sort of... Well, he sees himself as a rationally minded individual. So, but I'm thinking... If this starts happening, it's going to happen again. But I have to imagine, like the second or third time this happens, he's gonna need to do some soul searching, because when confronted with it, he's not gonna be able to dismiss it. It was fine. It wasn't like I was cool with dying. Just on the off chance I got a second shot, dying wasn't an acceptable option. I wasn't about to compromise on that.
ほっつき歩いても仕方ないし、ここで待ってるよ。
That is a good attitude, I feel, though. You don't want to just... Yeah, if it were me, I wouldn't... I'm not sure I would put much faith in that. I'd be just as concerned of dying, Of course, that would depend on how often it started happening. If it happened repeatedly over and over, then you get into the whole Groundhog Day situation,
わかった。
召し上がらないの？
結構アレルギーあるんで。
若い人は変色しよるからいろいろ食べんと強くなれんわよ。
That's well said, Tai. Hey, I was lying, but telling actual allergy sufferers that they should just eat and then they'd be cured was actual murder. Well, there were some efforts to cure allergies by carefully injecting the allergens via vaccine, but that was a subject for the doctor. Anyway, going back to the dorm by myself was dangerous, since they'd suspect me, so I just waited in the corner of the room, still hungry.
安永くんと春ちゃんは？
まだ上かな。
いいから熱いうちに。
Sorry, Ms. Oribe. I feel like we should mind them.
もっとついで。
僕は彼らを呼びに行ってくるよ。
I went up the stairs, and when I reached the second floor, I stopped for a moment. I heard some rustling. Huh. Was it possible they'd gotten that intimate in just a few minutes? Was I about to ruin the mood? Well, food was important too. I said, to get their attention and slowly went up, making sure I was loud enough for them to hear me coming.
食事だそうだよ。おや、安永くん。あ、どうも。
The room was full of stuff. It was a huge mess.
なんか探してるみたいだけど、まだ見つからないの？
ええ。新しい割烹着が屋根裏にあるって言われたんですけど、見つけられなくて、他もひっくり返してたところですよ。
New apron, huh?
そうか。
見た？
え？
よければみんなには黙っててもらえますか？
いや、勝手に気を使いはしたけど、別に何か危ないシーンを目撃したわけじゃないんだけど。
Okay, game. Are we talking about them getting intimate, or are we talking about, I don't know, getting a murder weapon or something? What are we talking about here?
お楽しみ中だった？
何言うのよ。
嘘だよ。こんな時にそんなこと君たちはしないでしょ？
そりゃそうですよ。ね。
もちろんよ。
Really now? I was still kind of worried.
じゃあ、一旦切り上げて食事にしたらどうかな。
They didn't argue, as we prepared to go back. Okay, there was a loud noise from downstairs.
何？
Yasunaga-kun and I looked at each other, then ran out of the room without saying a word. We were met with a strange scene. I instantly realized what had happened and who was responsible. Kinosuke Ishii was wearing a furious expression, his shoulders shaking. A shattered plate of rice gruel at his feet, the contents still steaming. He was facing Kaori Oribe-san, who was standing completely still. Did he throw his food to the floor? Was it that bad? No way. This was clearly something way bigger than that.
いきなりどうしたんです？
Chimmy and the others didn't seem to understand either. They shifted uneasily.
ズだ。
なんですと。
渦だ。渦。獅子滝にトリカブトが入っている。
Aconite? Wolfsbane? Hang on. What?
メイコちゃん、食べた？
いただきます。まだ。
他に誰も食べてない？
ちょっと待って。何が何だか。本当なんですか？
見ろこの生煮えの傭変を。光沢があり、裏も白くなく、先端が尖る。匂いも違う。ヨモギや二輪草じゃない。
I know this is a very tense scene, but this is interesting. Remember we heard from Mochi? He was an Asato. Kinosuke's an Asato. And we were told that they were the ones who did, what was it? They were the healers, and so they were familiar with plants and stuff. So interesting that Misato or that Kyo. Yeah, it tracks.
ほんまです。こりゃフスじゃ。
It's good to have someone who has that knowledge.
山菜を入れたの、母さん。
ええ。
危なかったね。間違えてそんなの入れちゃって。中毒が起きるところ。
Yasunaga, didn't you go get stuff for her, or what was that?
殺す気だ。この。
待ちなさいよ。ただ間違えただけでしょ。それだけでそんなひどい。
Howard-chan stopped talking when she realized the suspect was acting strange. Kaori-san was staring straight at Kinosuke-shi, not moving an inch and smiling. She was completely glaring him down. That response was so delayed we had no idea what it was for. When Kinosuke-shi backed away a bit, his expression shifted from rage to fear.
母さん。
みんな死んでしまえばいいのよ。
As she stood there, wailing madly, she brandished a knife. She was hardly moving quickly, but the sight of the blade had stunted our reflexes. I'd seen some bizarre corpses here. I'd bore witness to what pure malice could do. But still living, blatant malevolence, killing intent, was intense enough to paralyze everyone present. I barely registered the scene unfolding before me. Staggering a bit, the woman passed the counter. The sharp knife was still green with something, likely shavings of aconite. She raised her voice and aimed her poisoned weapon at the nearest target, Kinosuke-san. And with this, I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna cliffhang you all. We're gonna leave it for next time. Oh my goodness. Lots to digest, of course. Lots to... I keep saying I need to digest, and there's always... there always happens to be food-related things happening. Okay, I'm going to leave it here. There's going to be a lot to talk about. I have some things to talk about Yoshinaga, things to talk about Meiko, her story. We're going to do that next time, so stay tuned for that. Everything keeps escalating. It's crazy. It's crazy. Hope you're all doing well. I've been The Worm. This has been Raging Loop. Hope you're well.